For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, 30 minutes of time-wasting fun coming your way. Hope it is. Fingers crossed. You never know. Coming into it, it's hit or miss sometimes. But over the last few weeks, well, I guess it's the last month or so, I talked about it on the show when we went on that 4-week rant about restaurants, and how when I came home one day after talking about restaurants here at the office, all of a sudden YouTube was showing me videos about restaurants. And, it was people, setting up their camera and going on rants about restaurants being too expensive or just their experience that they had. And so that was kind of really the first time that I really started to watch like YouTube channels, I guess you'd call it, right? Of people who go on rants and do things like that. Now, obviously I'll watch, the one that I usually watch, like Jimmy Kimmel's monologue on YouTube. Like, so I'll watch, shows like that, but I'm talking about the user generated content, like the everyday people who are setting up the camera and doing their own YouTube channel. So since that first restaurant show, when we were talking about it, I guess it was 4 or 5 weeks ago now, maybe almost, 2 months ago, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and that's not something that I'd ever had an interest in, but I guess I was kind of opened up to the idea of like, let me just watch you, like, what are people making videos about? And you know how YouTube is, that, you'll watch one and then suddenly it's matching all these other similar ones and the things you want to watch. I don't know how many I watched about why the Las Vegas Strip is dying or why Las Vegas is dying, right? Because you watch one and now there's so many people that do all these rants about it. So I've made some observations. Now, some of it is critical because, you have to remember that I've been in broadcasting for well over 20 years. I've been on the radio professionally, right, in actual broadcasting jobs for over 20 years. And so that's the one sort of gripe that traditional journalists or media people have, is that everybody's a broadcaster now. Everybody's a writer thanks to blogs, right? Everybody's a YouTuber, everybody's a podcaster, and it really has sort of cheapened what I would say is an art or a craft. I mean, writing was, now with AI, whatever, it kind of shits on the whole idea of, being able to write and craft, a story and things like that. So coming up for this episode, I have a bunch of observations, and some of it's meant to help you and some of it is meant to mock and make fun of you. But I don't know, there's just a bunch of things that jump out at me. And so that's what we're talking about on the show. If you're a YouTuber, listen closely, and you're probably going to be offended because you do some of these things, and just know that there's people that laugh at you for it. It's on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here on This Scribble. Now, all right, let me go on my rant. Let's start actually with podcasters. as I said, I've been doing radio for over 20 years. So for me, I go into doing this show as it's a live radio show. We just go. Unless there's something, terribly, terribly bad, like a coughing fit or something, we just run with it. Now, again, because I've been doing this for so long, I can talk and talk and talk and not do a bunch of ums and ahs. We don't go into the editing room after and start to hack away and take out this word or this sentence, whatever. So the one thing that drives me insane, because again, I've been in the audio business for so long, is when I hear the edits that are just so bad. So now I listen to, podcasts or things in my headphones when I'm walking the dog. So that's a different experience when you're listening to it right in your ear versus, let's say, the speakers on your computer or on your TV. So it's a little bit, because you're getting it right in your ear. So the one thing that drives me insane about listening to a podcast is you hear the edits. And that could be, you'll listen for it now that I've told you, is when you hear like somebody's taking a breath, or like you don't have that natural silence, and you can tell. Now, I actually mentioned this about the Kardashians reality show back in the day, where you can hear when they piece together a sentence. It happens a lot on the Bachelor shows. It's because either the person didn't articulate the thought in one take, and so then the editors have now had to come back and sort of piece words together to make the thought. Now, I believe that we do have, if I'm not mistaken, Bonnie, who's not listening, do we have that Kardashian clip? I want to play that just so people understand what I'm talking about. We'll get it? Okay, good. Stand by for that, folks. But, so what I don't like is hearing the... because it's so distracting, because I know that you've taken something out. I know that there's an edit. I know that you've either shortened what you're thinking or you're, Now, let's flip that now to YouTube. That's called a jump cut edit when you're seeing. And so that is so maddening to me. So a lot of these videos that I was watching, it was when, again, people were going on rants about restaurants or whatever it is. It seems like every second or third sentence, the picture jumps because they've edited, they've cut something, they've and I can't even watch. I now have to just kind of listen to them. I can't watch them because it's too distracting. It's literally every second or third sentence is an edit. So my thought when I see that is, you're not cut out for this whole broadcasting thing. If you can't go 4 sentences without needing to chop it up, cut it out, redo it or something, you don't have what it takes. Now, you could argue and say, well, it's editing, I was making it more concise, whatever. Right, but that's where you need to put a little bit more thought into your rant or whatever you're talking about beforehand. Because when you think about it, how much time are you spending in the editing room? Now, I appreciate Kathy Griffin, and she's got her YouTube channel or video. And again, it's the same kind of a thing where there's these jump cuts all the time. And she's talked about before how long it takes to edit. Her video, her YouTube channel, is her sitting on a couch with her dogs. How much editing does there need to be? How much? If it's a 20-minute rant or whatever she's talking about, and I'm not targeting Kathy Griffin, I'm just like, that's the one that I watch, so that's how I know. But she talks about, it's a full day of editing or whatever. I'm sitting there going, all you do is you just set up your camera. If it's well thought out and you know what you're going to be talking about, I don't understand what the need for editing is. I don't get it. It's so, you could pump out 3 times as many videos if you just knew concisely what you were going to say, make some notes for yourself, get a little teleprompter, whatever. And now you just go. But if you're having to do it and it's the jump cuts, and it's so, to me that just says that you either haven't been able to form your train of thought, you haven't rehearsed this well enough, or you're just not a very good public speaker. As the viewer, that's how I feel. That's what I see when I watch it. Maybe that's just the cool thing to do is, the cuts, everything. But it's just like, I don't know. We do this show. I'll go on a 15-minute, rant or whatever. It's all in one shot. Maybe I've rambled on a little bit, but whatever. I don't sit there. This is the one that, Stephen Colbert drives me insane. You can always, when he's doing a serious interview, he knows what he's going to ask, but he always makes it sound like he doesn't. So he will do the, you've got your questions on your card there, buddy. You know what you're going to ask. The guest has already been briefed. They know what you're talking about. They know what you're asking. Don't make it seem like it's when you do this. That's where you need an edit. Take that out. Take that part out. If you've got the ums and ahs and shit like that, then take a public speaking course. Rehearse this on your own. I would almost guarantee you, if you were to listen, pick any of our scribbles from the past 10 years. In a 30, I mean, sometimes we run a little bit long, but in a standard 30-minute episode, knowing that we don't edit, we don't cut things out, we don't do any changes. Count for me how many times you hear or from me. There might be the odd time because that's just, again, how we speak. And sometimes if you legitimately don't know what you're going to say or you lose your train of thought, yeah, sure, sometimes it comes out. But if that's your crutch, if that's something that you lean on, then you need to pick something different because that's something that stands out. Same thing with cable news comment, or what do you call them? Cable news, like the not the actual hosts, but like the panels, the guests, the talking heads. I don't know what you call them. You know what I'm talking about, right? The people that yell, the Anna Navarros, the whoever that come on CNN and just yell at the other people, Scott Jennings and all those. What do you call them? Oh, commentator. Okay. Well, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? The cable news commentators. Anyway, the one thing that drives me insane is as soon as they start to answer a question, listen for this now. I want you to pay attention to this. Listen to how many times people start by saying, look or listen. I'll give you an example. Tell me what you think about Trump or tell me what you think about such and such. Look, I don't agree with. Think about it, right? How many you've heard people say it, and I'll give you the other example. The war in the Middle East. What do you think about? Listen, it's something that I've been. How often are you're told look or listen? Don't tell me. But again, it's like I'm saying, it's a crutch. They're not actually telling you look, meaning look at me, or listen because you already are. But there's just this weird thing, or same thing on Shark Tank. When somebody comes out, they're asked a question by the panel, right? The millionaires, billionaires. So many people start their answer with the word so. Here's my example. When did you guys, you started in 1996, but how many of there are you? Or what? No, that wasn't a good example. Shit, I ruined it. Okay, let me think. There would be, what's something they would ask? What made you start this business? There you go. That's a good one. What made you start this business? So I was a stay-at-home mom. They start the answer with so. Again, listen for that next time you watch the show. Why did you start the business? So it was during the pandemic, or back to the cable news thing. What do you think about the war in the Middle East? Look, it's not something that Listen, it's not something. Van Jones on CNN, Alyssa Fair Griffin on The View. Those are the ones that stick out to me the most. Those two, I don't know all the other people's names, but and then there's the guy, David, is it David Urban? David, he's the bald guy. He's always defending Trump and he shouts. Is that his name? David Urban? Anyway, he's another one. It's always just, it's look, it's listen, look, listen. Don't fucking tell me to look or listen. Just don't. So again, these are my pet peeves. I'm just saying when it comes to people who are going to be, broadcasting or whatever, just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the delivery of it. There was a newscaster. He was later fired, but there was a newscaster in my hometown of Winnipeg. And it's funny because I think I called him out on it, like on Twitter or something back in the day. But anyway, he would be telling a story or whatever, vamping or ad-libbing, like he was going off script. And it happened a lot on election nights. And again, on an election night for a newscaster, you've got binders and binders of information. So you don't have everything memorized. But one of his crutches, one of his sort of filler words or kind of ways to buy some time for himself was he would say, of course. And so, yeah, it was a Twitter DM because I remember we kind of went back and forth. I wasn't making fun. I just said to him, like, it's really distracting that you... So let me give an example. Okay, so the mayor... And now I just did here, but like I said, if you're legitimately thinking, it comes out. he would say something about... Okay, so this is the first time... No, sorry, no, this will be the second time that the candidate has run for mayor, okay? So there you go. That's what he's saying. So let's say it's John Smith. It's his second attempt at running for mayor. So his delivery, as he would be saying it, is... John Smith, of course, it's his second time as running for mayor, or something to that effect. John Smith is second time running for mayor, of course. And so I said, you realize when you say of course, that makes it sound like we should all know that. As though it's just common knowledge. Then why are you telling us it? If we should know it, why are you telling us that right now? And so he ended up saying, oh yeah, that was, it's a crutch. It's just something that it's that in between sort of, you try to, it's not vamping. It's not like he's trying to come up with it, but it's just sort of his transition, right? It's his way to either get off that thought to move to the next one, or if it's a kind of way of just sort of wrapping it up. And so then he starts to notice it, that he's doing it, then he changes. But again, if you have those crutch words or habits, it can be really distracting sometimes. And like I said, he was later fired. He ended up being laid off after like 20 some years at that station, which was kind of sad. But definitely it's, it's just, there's things, like I said, if you're in broadcasting, there's words, to pay attention to what you're doing and even just listen back to yourself. When we started to do our syndicated radio show back in the day, we're going back, almost 20 years now. I started doing this in my parents' basement. This was before it was actually even a company and an actual business. I would script everything. So we had it was a 2-hour show, and I would come on, we had 8, we called them breaks, 8 times that I would come in and talk through that 2-hour show. The intro, of course, and then after 4 songs, I would come back, and then another 4 songs, I would come back, we'd have a commercial, then I would come back, top of the hour, I'd come back. So anyway, that's my point. So we had set breaks. When I first started doing this, I would be sitting on the couch at my parents' house, I'd have my laptop, and I would script exactly what I said. And I scripted in ums and ahs, or UH. I would script in ums and ahs because I would be reading the script, but I wanted to make it sound natural. So I added those in to make it seem like I was struggling for words or thoughts, a complete sentence, to kind of wrap it all up. I would literally script ums and ahs so that it didn't seem like I was just reading a script. Because, as a radio host, you don't want to be robotic, you don't want to be whatever, but that's something that I would do. And then once I got my groove, once I had my flow of doing it for a little while, right? Because I'd never done it before, so I was a little bit nervous. Then you're comfortable behind the microphone, and then you find your own style, right? And you go with it. So that's something that definitely pay attention to it. When you're podcasting, when you're YouTubing, whatever it is, think about those jump cut edits and what it makes you look like. As I said, it's like you can't finish a sentence or your thought. Every 2 or 3 sentences, you're jumping, jump. Even though it could be the exact same story. You could be on the same topic. You could be still continuing on the same thought. But what have you taken out and why? And why couldn't you just do it in one shot? Those are videos that I just can't watch. I have to just listen to it. Now, when we come back, speaking of watching versus listening, I've got some thoughts about that coming up on the Scribble right after this.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here on The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Now, there's nothing for you to watch, and that is on purpose. Years ago, I was brought into a trucking company to host their internal podcast. And so it was from my hometown in Winnipeg, and they obviously knew who I was from being in the media for so many years and on the radio and what have you. So I was brought in, and I was part of the planning process from the ground up. So they, excuse me, they knew that would be an edit that a lot of people would take out. No, we do it like it's live. Anyway, so they brought me in right from the ground up, from the very beginning of, we know we want to do a podcast, but we don't know what it's about. You're the expert. You work with us to come up with what this is going to be. Fine, great. And I appreciate that better. I appreciate being given that freedom and being part of the process, as opposed to just, this is what we're going to do, this is what it is, because a lot of times they don't really understand it, right? It's like, your business is trucking, you guys do that, you know what you want to say, let me use my skills and talents, and then we come together and we make this. So I like that they brought me in from the very beginning, from day one. But anyway, so when we're in these meetings and we're having this discussion, the question came up if it should be a video podcast. Well, first of all, my thought was, if this is for truckers, these are for truck drivers, this is to keep them entertained or, focus while they're on the road. You want them listening. You don't want them watching a video. That's the most dangerous thing you could, what's the point of that? Right? I mean, it makes no sense. And they said, well, we could do a video version for the office staff and then an audio version for the, driving staff. So this is the one thing that I brought up to them. And I've said this actually to a few people who have approached me and said, oh, I want to start a podcast. Do you have any advice? Yes, I do. I really, really do. Ask yourself, what is the benefit? What do I gain from having video? So one thing that I said to the trucking company is, you're looking at double the production time. And so they already didn't really want to spend a ton of time and money on this thing. So I said, so why would you do it? But that's the trend, right? Is everybody's doing a video. And I just said, not everything needs to be video. Especially for something like this. If your main audience is truck drivers, then video is so stupid. Why would you, why bother? And at the same time, what's the visual element of it? All right, so picture it. So they ended up making this kind of little studio in an empty office for us. And I said, okay, so even if you did set up 2 or 3, digital cameras or whatever those, I don't even know how people record them. Is it just do people do it on phones? I don't even know. But anyway, so I just said, what do you gain from that? So you're going to see me sitting in this room that really just had moving blankets or whatever you call them. When you have a moving truck and you get those big, not tarps, but moving blankets. We had those hung up on the wall. So it made it almost seem like we were in a service elevator. It was not like we were in an actual studio. And I said, so visually, okay, so you're going to be looking at me talking into one of those giant penis microphones, as Bill Maher calls them. And then you're going to cut to watch the person answer the question. And you're going to cut back to me saying something. You're going to cut back to them. And cut back to me. Maybe a 2-shot, maybe the two of us then. And back to them. Back to me. What's the point? What do you, and like I said, then you, the editing time, now you're having to do video editing, and then you're going to have probably on-screen graphics. You're going to have, why bother? Why bother? We're talking about fucking trucking. We're talking about new technology or whatever. They've already got videos. They're not going to be watching that as they're driving the truck. That's not the point. We're going to give you a news alert. We're going to talk to some new driver who's on the road. He's talking to us while he's driving. So even a phone call is somewhat dangerous at that point. But still, weigh that out and go, what do I gain from that? Not everything needs to be a visual podcast. Again, that would be like doing this show. Me just sitting there on camera for 30 minutes. Are you? Yes, I'm attractive. That's fine. Yes, whatever. But I'm married. Whatever. Anyway, but what's the point? I'm gonna have to worry about dressing up, having a nice background, having the lighting right. If I do fuck up, then we're gonna have to do a jump cut edit, which I've already made fun of. Like, why? There's no point. I can sit here and talk for 30 minutes. This is something that's packaged up. You can listen to it when you're on the treadmill, when you're walking the dog, when you're on an airplane. You don't need to be looking at me. You don't need to see me. Not everything is a visual medium nowadays. That's why we always hear people talk about like, oh, radio's on the way out. No, because when podcasts started, they were visual. I don't need to see people sitting in these oversized chairs with the giant penis microphone in front of their face, wearing the headphones that look like they're going to crush their skull. What do I gain from that? I don't need to see it. You don't need to build a set. It's not a big production. It's a fucking podcast. So weigh that out and go, especially when it comes to, time and money and effort or whatever like that. Is your audience better served just listening to you, or do you feel like it's something visual? If it's, I remember like back in the day listening to Howard Stern on the radio, sure, that was one thing. But the television, like when they actually started to do, I can't remember what it was called. Was it called the Howard, it was Saturday nights, it was on like CBS or something. And they would, I don't know if it was from that week of shows or whatever it was. Listening to Howard Stern, that's a more of a visual experience because he's bringing in these idiots who are doing stupid contests or, whatever it was. Yes, I wouldn't want to just listen to Howard Stern because you're hearing all the fun, you're not seeing it. Yeah, that's something that requires video. To get the full experience, you need to see Howard Stern. Not that anybody's watching him or listening to him anymore, but you know what I mean. But for something like this, why? I don't know. I'm going to get, like I said, dressed up, do my hair, get the lighting just right, make sure there's no jump cut edits and whatever. No, I can come in here in a bathrobe, my pajama pants, whatever, do the show, and that's it. So think about that. That's my one thing. Not everything needs to be seen. Not everything needs to be seen. And the same thing about like having a set. I just don't get it. People are tuned in to hear the conversation, to hear your opinion, to hear whatever it is that you're talking about. You don't need to have the neon sign with your name on it in the back or the name of the show. You don't need to, it's so bad. It's so bad. Now, the other thing is that people who have sponsorships or ad reads, I get it. Like I said, we had advertisers, sponsors, segment, whatever, all the time on the radio shows. Put some effort, put some love, put something into that read. There's a couple people that I watch. I can't remember their names. One of them, she's always talking about she's always bashing Meghan Markle. Can't think of her name. And then, the guys that are talking politics, I can't think of it. But whatever it is, I have to fast forward through the ads because it's done with such an impersonal delivery or read that I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. So when we had advertisers on the radio show, it was, I believed in the product. So let's say it was a John Smith pen set. I'm just making something up. The John Smith pen set is amazing. It comes in 6 different colors. It does this, it does that. You can write upside down. It's something that we use in the office all day. Even just having that little bit of energy is believable. I might not have even ever seen the John Smith pen set. Was that the name that I used? John Smith? Yeah? Okay. No? Yeah. We might not even have it in our office, but you know what? It sounds like it because but when I like the John Smith pen set and it's 20% off now and you can use the code John Smith 20 for 20% off your first order. And it's a special discount for our listeners. And it's like there's just something that's so there's something so cold about it. It's just put some energy. If you have this much emphasis when you're ripping apart Meghan Markle and you've got that much energy, but I'm not buying that you use this new lip gloss that's 20% off for your listeners, and I think I don't buy it. And the weirdest time is when it just comes in the middle. First of all, that's a gripe that I think a lot of people have with YouTube, which I believe they made fun of that on SNL last season, didn't they? Where you're watching a YouTube video and then just out of nowhere a commercial starts. It's like somebody's mid-sentence on whatever you're watching and then just boom, commercial. Not even a traditional commercial break like on a TV show where there's a cliffhanger and then it's like, oh, commercial. No. But anyway, the mid-sentence, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to your little ad read thing that you're doing for that 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it is, it's just so out of place. It's weird. And again, do you know what it makes me do? It just makes me fast forward it. It's because it doesn't come in a convenient place. Like I'm going to forget what you were just talking about. And then now it's going to come back and you're finishing the sentence. So be mindful of something like that because, it's very distracting too. Again, it's the giant penis microphone, having the flag, we call it a mic flag that has your little logo or whatever on it. Like, you don't need shit like that. What to me is somebody who is it's like when you see performers, Carrie Underwood or whoever, who has the glitter microphone. It's just like, you don't need, just have a regular microphone. You just don't you don't need the mic flag that's got the branding, whatever. You got your fucking giant neon sign behind you. And I'm not talking about Joe Rogan, but he has one, and whatever. He's more of a high-end show in terms of production quality. But just like, why go through all that trouble? Like, why have shit made, and and especially too, if you've got a donation link or you want people to, you're begging people to donate to your whatever, don't be fucking. I'm going to look at that and go, sorry, you had money to spend on neon signage. So what do you need? This isn't about your livelihood then. This is about you set decorating. That's not my problem. That's your own thing. So, be mindful of that. If you're going to end up if you want donations, you want people supporting you financially through your show, I'm not going to look at that and go, oh, well, those are nice chairs that he's sitting in. Oh, I'm going to get, he doesn't need my money. He's got nice fucking fancy chairs. So again, just an observation from watching these kinds of things, okay? The other thing is, sorry, Bonnie's telling me to wrap up and Tim is saying to keep going. Are you guys arguing? I'll let you guys fight it out. Should I keep talking? There we go. Yeah, it's a good production team while I'm going on about this. Keep going is what they're saying. Great. So background noise. Oh, that's almost similar to what you didn't hear them though. I hear them in my ear. Background noise, that is something that you want to take out. Or, better yet, eliminate that problem or possibility in the first place. So what do I mean by that? I don't want to hear your dog barking in the background from across the way. I don't want to hear your baby crying because there's something that's so unprofessional about that. So, like, again, think about it this way. You're putting this professional front of you're in a studio, you got the production equipment, you got the dick microphone in your mouth, you got the neon sign, and then you hear a dog barking in the distance. Now that just takes me back to, oh, she's in her home. Womp womp. And same thing with, a baby, all of a sudden crying. I realize that it's not your fault, but it's like that's a risk that you take. Have your show on a different floor of your house or somewhere, or send the kid outside or send your partner or whatever with your kid, because it's like, you know what? I've got 30 minutes to do this show. I need absolute silence. That was something that when I was doing the radio show, when I lived at my parents' house, I was in the basement. I would put up a sign because my parents were smokers. So they would go outside. The computer and the desk that I had in the basement was kind of right at the bottom of the stairs and just sort of around the corner. So anytime that my parents would come in, obviously you hear them rustling their jackets or closing the door, whatever it is, I would have to put up a sign. Recording quiet, please. Did they ever acknowledge or abide by that? No. My mom would still come down the stairs. Stairs are creaking, whatever it is. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm interviewing a D-list celebrity right now. And my mom is just walking through and potentially being loud. Same thing. So then when I moved into my house, we had a radio studio built into the house because it was my house and I had a big house and I had money and I had room. And so we made a studio so I wouldn't have to go into work all the time. But that was something that I was just like, shit, I've got to be mindful because at any time, in the daytime at least, or I guess even in the evening, the doorbell could ring. The doorbell could ring and that's going to send my dogs running around and they're going to bark and there's going to be noise in the house. It happened before where, so my office is at the back of the house and we've got a fairly, I won't get into the layout. But anyway, the garbage trucks were going down the street one day. And again, you hear the boom boom of when they drop the, I was going to say barrel, the bucket, what do you call them? The bins, the garbage bins, the recycling bin, whatever it is. And there was that noise and it set the dogs off one day. And I was in the middle and I've got a mute button on the microphone so I can do that. But I'm just sitting there going, I'm muted. So the person the celebrity on the phone won't hear me. The microphone won't pick up the audio, and I'm tempted to start, yelling at the dog, shut up, shut up, shut up. But then you talk to them, then they're going to come in and they're going to come and see you, or they're going to be scratching at the door, whatever it was. I was very mindful of that. Background noise. That was always the scariest thing. So if I was at home and I was there's that chance that the doorbell is going to be heard, or there's going to be some kind of noise. The dogs are going to hear something outside and they're going to start barking. That to me, again, why I'm saying it's a bad thing is because you're putting it forward that you're in a studio. It's this whole vibe that you're creating. It doesn't match when we now have background noise and it's like, oh, there's a baby crying. Oh, there's a dog barking. Oh, I just hear somebody close the door. Oh, I just heard something. It totally gets rid of that illusion of this is a full-on production. Now, you have to remember that when I was hosting that radio show, people didn't realize that I was just in my parents' basement or that I was in a house. They always thought that I was in a radio studio. For the most part, I was. And remember, this is before the days of people working from home and having podcasts and doing all this other shit. So nobody ever knew that I was in my own house, right? But there was one time, I can't remember who I was interviewing. Was it Gloria Gaynor? It was some legendary music artist. And again, one of the dogs barked, and I just felt embarrassed. Because again, she thinks that she's calling into a radio show, it's a radio interview, it's whatever, and all of a sudden there's a dog barking. So I just said, working from home today, Ernie says hello. And so, we kind of had a laugh about it. But I was so mortified. I couldn't. We're going to take a quick break. Yeah, quick break and final thoughts because about this whole AI thing. I'm going to talk about that coming up on the Scribble right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. My team is calling me one big walking contradiction. Let me explain why. Throughout the show, I've been saying how we treat it as a live radio broadcast where there's no do-overs unless there's something, incredibly terrible that happens that we need to cut and start again. But I generally know what I'm going to be saying because I've already thought out these opinions and stories. So one of the things that we started to do when we began this podcast 10 years ago or however long it was that we said it's 30 minutes. And we keep it to 30 minutes tight, again, just like a radio show, because we come from that era or that world where you've got 2 hours. You don't go over your time. You got a 2-hour block because the next show has started. You got 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, that's it. So we said, when we started to do this, okay, let's do it at 30 minutes because maybe you get a 30-minute lunch or you get 30 minutes on the treadmill or you go out and walk for 30 minutes. It's a nice chunk of time and it's consistent as well. And so here we are now 37 minutes into the show and my team is laughing at me going, okay, you're ranting and raving about people who make YouTube and whatever content and you're not even following one of the things that we do. Well, this is the thing, is that when you get to a certain age or a certain length of a part of your career, you stop giving a fuck. That's generally what it is. And it was me who came up with a 30-minute thing and I was very strict about it. Come to think of it, that's probably when we did a lot of the edits, is that we would trim it down to cut things out and make it 30 minutes exactly. Nevertheless, you've probably noticed that in recent months, or maybe you haven't, but we're going a little bit over sometimes, 32, 35, 37 minutes, because I just get so into the stories, and I'm enjoying talking and telling it to you, and that's why we go over. So I don't see time when we're doing this show. I really don't. But that would be my tip to you, though, is be consistent, because there's something that I just can't stand about, let's say, a podcast like Smartless, or I'm trying to think of the ones that I would listen to. I don't really anymore because the celebrities all just go from they all just go on each other's podcasts, and now I don't need to listen to them anymore. But I used to listen to Smartless and Conan O'Brien and David Spade and Dana Carvey. What was that one called? Fly on the Wall. And I would listen to Chris Cuomo. I would listen to Amy Poehler. But anyway, but my point is that I don't like that one episode. Oh, Bill Maher's another one I listen to. Club Random. So it's one thing, be consistent with your episode length. Keep them around the same. I'm not saying militaristic like we did with 30 minutes, but have it between 45 minutes and an hour, or however long it is that you're doing it. Just keep it consistent, because I don't want one is like 20 minutes and then the next one's an hour and a half. Just keep it so that there's some regularity so that we know kind of, it'll be about an hour and that's what it is. I don't get it. Either hold off on the short one until you have more content for it, or trim down the other ones. But have some consistencies. That's something that throws me, is one episode's 30 minutes and the next one is almost 2 hours. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so what I was actually going to talk about in this segment was the AI generation of content, and so that could be, I found it a lot with voiceovers. So when I was listening, or when I was watching those YouTube videos about Vegas and how, you watch one and now it shows you the 7 next ones about why Vegas is dying, they all were kind of the same thing. It was basically somebody wearing a camera or holding out a camera and just walking through casinos and down the strip and whatever it is. That's fine. But again, once you've seen one, it almost is kind of like, I know that you need a visual because you're making a YouTube video, but your whole argument that Las Vegas is dying and the casinos are empty, then don't actually show me somebody walking through a casino and lots of people walking by. That doesn't make sense. So these are, I'm guessing, AI-generated videos. Now, how do I know that? Because it took me a little while to catch on. And some of them I even had to rewind and go, did I really just hear that? It's the slight mispronunciation of words. Excuse me. That would be a prime example, right? There you go. The irony of that. But I'm a real person. I'm not AI. So, an example. When I was watching about Las Vegas, and it was talking about how it started out, the mob or whatever it was that kind of ran the city, and then it became somehow like family friendly at one point, and then it transitioned again. And so they were talking about how now it's security, there's cameras everywhere, and it feels like it's 1984. It's like the book 1984. Now, people of a certain age know that the book is called 1984, right? You've heard of the book. If you're of a certain age, you know what it's called. 1984. So to me, that just screams AI. Because it's just reading the number. 1984. Back in the day, I was born in 1982. That's how you say the year, 1982. So the book is called 1984. So anything that says, refers to the book 1984, I just go, wait a second. Nope, stop. That's not right. Even though I'm listening to what I thought was an actual narrator, a real man, I then started to question and go, I think this is just an automated, an AI script, first and foremost, and then just an AI voice. And as I said, I watched a bunch of these, same kind of footage of the same kind of a thing, like somebody's attached a camera to their chest or hat or whatever it is, or glasses, and we're just watching them walk through. And they all just kind of felt the same after a while. And then I'm thinking, going, yeah, all these narration voices are almost perfect. Because if it's a human being, you have fluctuations in your voice, you kind of go up and down. Now, I get a professional, a trained voiceover artist is going to keep it level and keep it consistent and have a general tone or whatever. But to hear mispronunciation of words, 1984, 1984, it was a couple ways. And then even just to hear it garbled, for some reason AI has issues with numbers, because there was a reference to Las Vegas. I'm trying to think of what it was. Something like you needed a certain, I can't remember if it was to buy a house. You either needed like an annual income, or you needed, and so it was like 130,000. But again, the way it was said actually didn't even make sense. It was just kind of garbled. The words collided. It was kind of a weird mumbo jumbo of just something. So again, I go back and I listen to it and go, okay, that's not a human talking then, or that's just a really, 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 really bad edit. So if you're going to be using AI narration or any, just be sure to match up, especially the visuals. Like I said, you're talking about how Vegas is dying and nobody goes, but then you're passing 40 people walking towards you on the street. You're walking through a casino and people, show me empty casinos. Show me empty stuff. Show me ghosts. Show me nobody around. So that's something that you're losing me, because you're telling me Vegas is dying, but you're showing me a lot of people at the casino. And then with the narration thing, listen back to it. So my guess is that people are just pumping out AI videos because you can get monetization or whatever from your channel, certain amount of followers or hours of viewing or however it works on YouTube. So that's what I'm thinking, is people are just pumping it out, right? You have AI write you a script, you drop it into an AI narration thing, let me just loop the same 20 minutes of clips over and over again, because like I said, once you've seen people walking through a hotel lobby, it's kind of like, I've seen this before. I don't know if I've seen this exact one, but that's really all I'm seeing. And when you see enough of them, basically everybody's just using the exact same footage. And then they're all just kind of telling you the same thing, because again, they've punched in 9 reasons Las Vegas is dying, and AI is just going to give you it's collating, or not collating, it's collating information from all over the internet, and it's pulling up different websites and reports and from the news, and here's 9 tips or 8 reasons or 7 reasons, 6 reasons, 5. Everybody's got the same information. And then you've got AI mispronouncing words. And so that's where I go and say, okay, not a real person. This is just a computerized channel. And then there was one. I know we got to go. They're giving me the wrap up. They're almost like slitting my throat motion right now. There was one that I saw. Speaking of AI, I absolutely thought it was real. I truly thought it was real. It's Jimmy Kimmel, the image of Jimmy Kimmel. He's sitting at his desk. And then it goes into B-roll or stock footage or whatever after. But you see him sitting, and he says it's December 5th, and he's recapping things in the news. He's making a couple of jokes. I'm listening to it going, this really sounds like Jimmy Kimmel. It's legitimately realistic AI Jimmy Kimmel. And there was a bit of laughter, so I don't know if they used sound effects or if they just took clips from a show. But I thought, this is kind of weird because it's outside of his actual ABC show. I don't know that he does podcasts, whatever it was. But there was something that was just very timely about, he was kind of recapping things that were in the news, and he's going, and just, again, as I'm listening to going, this isn't really him. This really isn't Jimmy Kimmel, but it is so realistic. It wasn't it wasn't anything like scammy. It wasn't selling anything. It was kind of something like you would see on his show. So it was very believable. So I go to the comments then and just kind of see, is anybody going to pick up on this, that it's not like actually him? And people didn't know the difference. They actually thought it was him just doing it. Now, the reason why I figured out it wasn't real was because I can't remember the date, but the date that he said on it was a Friday, and I know they don't tape shows on Friday, and it was things that actually happened that day. So that was sort of the tip off for me, is they're not doing anything on a Friday. So and it wasn't officially a Jimmy Kimmel YouTube account or page or whatever it's called. So it was just something else. So that was also, I was like, okay, now I've seen that a lot of people will just rip the video from the NBC feed of a cable news show, and they'll just put it on their own page, again, for monetization or whatever it is. But this wasn't even like a Jimmy Kimmel sort of a knockoff page. But that was also something that tipped me off, going, okay, so you see him at the very beginning saying, hi, it's Jimmy Kimmel sitting at the desk, and then it's just showing video. It was so realistic. It sounded exactly like him. I didn't hear any mispronunciation of words, so it was believable for me, because like I said, as soon as I hear one, I'm kind of like, okay, that's not real. But yeah, so if you're going to be using AI narration or like video, stock video, B-roll, whatever, make sure the visuals add up to what we're hearing. And then if you're doing AI, listen to it back. It's going to be, if your video is 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes of your time. Listen to it back, and just make sure, don't follow along on the script. Don't follow, because you might be not paying it. Just listen to it as a regular viewer, audience member, whatever it is. Listen to your content if you're using AI. When I do my radio shows, like I said, I would script something, I would do it. After a while, I was kind of like, you know what, whatever. I know that I didn't screw up. It's good to go. Run with it. Fine. If you're using an outside source that is not you speaking, if it's anybody, even if you hired somebody to actually do a voiceover, listen to it. Make sure they're not mispronouncing something. Listen to it back. AI, especially AI. You might think that it's perfect and that it's great and it's realistic and believable, but as soon as you hear some kind of a garbled word, now the audience is kind of like, not real. Same thing. I don't really spend much time on social media, but Facebook is pumping out a lot of fake or AI-generated accounts as recommendations for me. And I sit here going, I'm kind of out of the AI game. I'm kind of over it now. I can recognize it. I can sense it. I can see it. I can identify what AI content is. I have no interest in watching it. It could be the big, juiced up Herculean muscle guy that's, the size of Hulk or whatever it is. And then I read the comments and people are believing that it's real. And I'm sitting here going, holy fuck, are we ever screwed? Because these people think that this like AI cartoon is a real human being. And then, for some reason, I don't know why, I'm married, I'm not looking at dating pages or profiles, I'm getting these whole bunch of profiles that are, it's like rich men, but of course it's an AI, right? So the page is single rich man or single whatever, I can't think of the exact names offhand, but you know what I'm talking about. So and there's, the AI generated old man. I'm 65, I'm looking for poor women, plural women. I'm looking for poor women to take care. I can take care of you, whatever. And the amount of people, now a lot of them are foreign based on their names and pictures and profiles of where they say what country they live in. But how many people are saying, I love you, I'll marry you, bring me to America, whatever. I'm going, oh my cripes, these people. These people think it's real. No one, it almost makes me want to, I wouldn't, but it almost makes me want to make a fake scam page and just ask people for money and send me this and give me, like, I almost see the appeal of being a catfish now. It just, we all know that AI is out there. Every cable news show that you watch, there's some story about AI, whether it's Trump or whoever, some politician making a video or doing whatever. I mean, there's just, this is what makes me not want to consume content anymore. So like I said, it makes me not want to open Facebook because all I'm going to see is these seniors dating pages of AI characters looking for people, poor women to take care of, or a juiced up like pretend, and it's a fitness page. Meanwhile, it's all AI characters. I'm sitting there going, how is that fitness? That's not even fitness. That's not even real. So I don't open Facebook anymore. Same thing with these YouTube videos. Now that I know that it's AI generated and not even a human putting any effort or love into it, I don't want to watch them anymore. I'm done with it. So here we are heading into the 1 hour mark. I'm going to wrap it up. So get me fired up though, especially when it comes to stuff like broadcasting. That's my territory, ladies and gentlemen. That's my turf. All right, we got to wrap it up because they told me to shut up 20 minutes ago. My name is Jeremy. Oh, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send me an email, not an AI generated message, real email, live, live at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.